She had my truck towed over a 3-inch parking violation, so I took down her entire HOA empire. Hit like if you've ever dealt with a petty tyrant in your neighborhood, and drop a comment if you've ever wanted to serve karma cold and slow. You live long enough, you learn the rules. Not the ones written in manuals or barked by some clipboard-wielding bureaucrat. No, the real rules. The ones that whisper through closed doors, passed between smug smiles and HOA meetings held over Chardonnay and control issues. I moved into Sandpiper Ridge 5 years ago, after retiring early. Clean neighborhood, quiet streets, ironed lawns, the scent of middle-class compliance hanging in the air like overwatered begonias. I wasn't here to make waves, just wanted peace. But peace is a luxury, and some people confuse power with purpose. Which brings us to her. Karen Whitmore, president of the HOA. Bleach blonde bun, wraparound sunglasses like a wannabe Secret Service agent, and a clipboard she wielded like a gavel. Picture every stereotype you've ever heard about an entitled suburban enforcer, and then multiply it by caffeine, menopause, and a vendetta. Now, I didn't have much history with her, until last month. That's when I made my first mistake. I had just gotten back from a week-long fishing trip up north, parked my F-150 just a hair over the white line in the communal lot, not blocking anything, mind you. My driveway was being resealed, which she damn well knew because her approval was required to do it in the first place. And yet, by morning, my truck was gone. Towed, without warning. No call, no citation. Just a smug little note duct-taped to my mailbox like a ransom letter. Per HOA Article 3, Section B-1, no vehicles shall occupy common space beyond 4 hours. This is your official notification. I stood there holding that note like it was some kind of sick joke. My name wasn't even on the envelope, just resident, not even the decency of a direct insult. So I did what any reasonable man would do. I called the number on the notice, which directed me to some third-rate impound lot 20 miles out of town. $385 cash to get it back. No receipt, no apologies. Now, I could have let it go. Chalk it up to HOA madness, pay the fine, and carry on. But that wasn't the part that burned me. No, it was the smug wink she gave me 2 days later at the community potluck. She didn't say a word, just strolled by with her potato salad and that Stepford smile like she was above consequence. That's when something old stirred in me, a switch I hadn't flipped in decades. The part of me that used to survive mergers, fire entire departments, and walk away from boardroom betrayals without a blink. That part of me whispered, she just made this personal. So I started watching her. Not obsessively, just a little neighborhood curiosity. Every tyrant has their habits, and Karen, she was textbook. Her Lexus RX parked slightly sideways, her grandson drive whenever he was home from college. No stickers, no pass. Parked in visitor spaces for days at a time. Double standards? Oh, sweetheart, they were stacked like firewood. But I wasn't going to start with cars. No, that would be too easy. And far too kind. I started digging. HOA bylaws, voting records, maintenance schedules, petty violations she handed out like candy. I even had coffee with that old widower down the block, George, who had once been fined $100 for non-uniform patio furniture. Turned out Karen had quite the little empire built on paranoia, pettiness, and power plays, and no one ever stood up to her. Until now. I didn't just want revenge, I wanted a lesson, a slow, undeniable unraveling, and I already had the first thread in hand. You ever pull at a thread thinking it'll give just a little, and suddenly the whole damn sweater comes apart in your hands? That's what happened when I looked into the HOA financials. It started innocently enough. I requested the publicly available spending reports, figured I'd see the usual nonsense, inflated landscaping fees, overpriced seasonal decorations, Maybe the odd pizza night for board meetings. But no, this wasn't wasteful spending, it was convenient spending. Karen had been approving reimbursements to herself for things like security enhancements and communication upgrades, thousands over the course of a year. A few dollars at a time, buried inside vague line items, I cross-referenced dates, amounts, and merchant names and found purchases at boutiques, spas, even a wine subscription. She was skimming. Not enough to trigger alarms, but just enough to pad her life with HOA-funded luxury. And here's the kicker. None of the other board members knew, or if they did, they were keeping quiet for their own reasons. I was willing to bet on the former. Most of them were passive, nodding heads, looking to retire in peace and not stir up trouble, perfect cover for someone like her. But what really made me lean forward was a little something labeled emergency repairs, $4,800. No details, no receipts, just a payout to a contractor named Miller and Sons. Sounded legit, until I ran the name and found out the company had dissolved 3 years ago. So now we had fraud, not just bad leadership, criminal behavior. And that was the moment the plan began to crystallize. You see, revenge doesn't always have to be loud. In fact, when done right, it's silent until the collapse becomes undeniable, like termite rot beneath polished floors. But I still needed leverage, something that would make her squirm before the house came down. And fate, as it tends to, handed it to me on a silver platter the following Saturday. I was out walking past the clubhouse when I noticed the side gate open. Not uncommon, except that inside, the community pool was occupied. And not by seniors doing water aerobics. Karen's grandson, college boy Civic, was throwing himself a little pool party. 5 kids, loud music, beer bottles out in the open, and not a single adult in sight. All well past the posted curfew. I didn't yell, didn't confront. I took photos, videos, every little infraction, time-stamped. Then I quietly slipped out, unnoticed, like a hunter who already knows where the prey will sleep that night. By Sunday, I'd compiled a neat little dossier. Karen's car violations, her grandson's party, the unregistered vehicle, her false reimbursements, and the cherry on top, the ghost contractor payout. I packaged it all with screenshots, receipts, public records, and a printed copy of the HOA bylaws she herself had written. And then, time, an old woman's sedan, visiting her sister who was recovering from surgery, parked 4 hours and 10 minutes in the common space. No warning, no mercy. That was my signal. I submitted the packet anonymously to 2 places, the HOA board and the county's Community Fraud Division. No need for a return address. The truth speaks for itself when it's undeniable. But I wasn't done, because exposure is just one side of revenge, the other, public humiliation. The funny thing about people like Karen? They don't panic when the walls start cracking. They tighten their grip. Desperation wears pearls and smiles through gritted teeth. 2 weeks passed after I sent the packet. The board stayed quiet, like always. No mention of the spending, the party, the car. Cowards in cardigans. But then the notice came in the mail. HOA special meeting, budget review, and community concerns. Attendance strongly encouraged. That's HOA speak for damage control, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. The meeting was held in the community clubhouse. Of course it was. Polished floors, folding chairs arranged in neat rows, and a little table of snacks Karen had probably expensed. She stood at the front in her Sunday best blazer, voice sugar slick and stiff with anxiety. I took a seat in the second row, not too close, just close enough. About 30 residents showed up. Most looked bored, some curious. A few were clearly there for the free cookies, but you could sense the tension under it all, like the air before a thunderclap. Karen opened with her usual spiel: budget allocations, seasonal maintenance, water usage, blah, blah, blah. but her smile cracked when she got to recent accusations. "It's come to our attention," she said, "that a member of this community has submitted anonymous claims regarding HOA financials, vehicle violations, and alleged misconduct. I want to assure everyone that these accusations are baseless and born out of personal vendettas." I watched her eyes flick across the room, trying to locate the wolf among sheep. I met her gaze, calm, neutral, like I was just another tired retiree, waiting for her to shut up so I could get home and water the damn ferns. Then someone spoke. Not me, George, the same old man she fined over a patio chair 2 years ago. He stood up, his voice rough but steady. "If it's all baseless, then why haven't you responded to the financial irregularities listed in the complaint? We've seen the packet. A few of us compared receipts." Karen froze. Just a beat, enough for the room to lean forward. "There were some clerical errors," she stammered. "Minor mislabeling, all corrected now." Another voice jumped in, Linda, a retired nurse. "And what about the unregistered vehicle parked in visitor spots for days? The bylaws say, your bylaws, Karen. That's a violation." She tried to pivot, mumbled something about family exceptions, but the dam had cracked. I just sat there, watching the show. Then I did something a little cruel, but necessary. I stood up, slowly. No raised voice, no accusations, just a story. "A few weeks ago I had my truck towed for being 3 inches over a line. I was away on a permitted driveway resurface, approved by this board. No warning, no courtesy call, just a tow and a $385 bill. Meanwhile, others in the
Applies to some of us, doesn't it?
The silence was beautiful, like the first snow after a war. Karen tried to respond. She really did. But every word she threw out fell flat under the weight of her own arrogance. The room wasn't angry. They were done. Done with her rules, her games, her damn clipboard kingdom. A motion was proposed. A vote to suspend Karen as HOA president, pending a formal audit. Unprecedented in our community, but the hands went up one by one, 26-4. She stood there, stunned, stripped of her little throne in real time. And that wasn't even the best part. Because 2 days later, the county fraud division came knocking. When you push long enough without being pushed back, you start believing you're untouchable. That's Karen in a nutshell. Years of unchecked control turned her from petty to pathological. So when the county fraud division finally reached out, it wasn't just a form letter. It was a formal audit notice, signed and sealed, requesting access to all HOA financials for the last 5 years. Full records, all transactions, all reimbursements, every cent. And since the board had just voted to suspend her powers, Karen didn't even have the authority to stall it. She tried, of course, claimed it was harassment, a witch hunt, said the accusations were fabricated. She even sent a community-wide email titled, "Defend Our HOA Against False Attacks." She signed it, "Your Concerned President." Except she wasn't president anymore. Just a resident, like the rest of us. One with a suddenly very nervous smile and no access to her precious HOA checkbook. The investigators didn't waste time. They set up shop in the clubhouse on a Tuesday morning. I watched from across the street as Karen stood outside, arms crossed, trying to explain away years of miscategorized spending to a stone-faced woman in a gray blazer. And let me tell you something. I've seen enough C-level executives squirm under audits to know the look. That quiet panic when the excuses run out and the numbers do the talking. It wasn't just the fake contractor. They found over $12,000 in reimbursements with no corresponding receipts. Repeated payments to a non-existent vendor. Guess who created the LLC using her maiden name? HOA-funded electronics, including a home security system billed as a community safety upgrade, installed at her house. And worst of all, proof that she altered board minutes to reflect votes that never happened. It wasn't just theft, it was fraud. Premeditated, sustained, and ugly. The board issued a formal statement. She was permanently removed from any HOA-related responsibilities. Her access to the community systems terminated. Her email disabled. Her power gone. But I wasn't done. See, Karen had made herself the face of the community, always front and center in every HOA newsletter, every event, every initiative. She made herself visible, which meant her fall needed to be just as public. So I did one last thing. I compiled everything, the audit results, the confirmed fraud, the fake expenses, and submitted it all to the local neighborhood Facebook group she once moderated like a digital dictator. I posted a single message: transparency matters. Here's what your HOA dues were really funding. Documents attached. It spread like wildfire. Within hours, neighbors were commenting with their own stories. Times she fined them unfairly, denied requests, threatened legal action over Christmas lights or wind chimes. By nightfall, Karen had deleted her account.
The Lexus, parked with a giant HOA violation sticker, hand-delivered by the very same compliance officer she once bossed around. I saw her once that week, walking her little rat dog in silence. No clipboard, no entourage, just sunglasses and shame. She didn't look at me. Smart woman, at least in that moment. But it still wasn't the end, because financial fraud isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's a felony. It's a strange thing watching someone who once strutted through a neighborhood like a queen now shuffle past your lawn like a ghost. Karen didn't wave anymore, didn't glare either. Just kept her head down, like she was afraid if she made eye contact, reality might finish what it started. But reality doesn't need eye contact, it just needs paperwork. And the county prosecutor was more than happy to oblige. By late summer, formal charges were filed: fraudulent use of HOA funds, falsification of official records, and misuse of authority for personal gain. 3 felonies, 2 misdemeanors. Her mugshot hit the local news cycle with all the grace of a lead balloon. There she was, Karen Whitmore, HOA president turned public disgrace, flanked by headlines that said everything I didn't have to. Community leader accused of HOA embezzlement.
Karen Whitmore Mound.
Yes. My soft I selfed a Jürgerpulcher. The court date was set, the board issued a new statement. The county began the process of recovering stolen funds. She was ordered to repay nearly $18,000 in misused dues plus court fees. Her savings? Garnished. Lexus? Repossessed. I didn't gloat, that's not my style. I just went on with my day, grilling steaks, trimming hedges, sipping bourbon on the porch while the autumn sun slipped behind the pines. But others did notice. One by one, neighbors stopped by. George brought me a 6-pack and sat with me in the garage for an hour, laughing about the time Karen wrote him up for his non-regulation mailbox. Linda hugged me, said she'd finally stopped feeling anxious every time she checked her mail. Even the quiet couple across the street who never spoke to anyone gave me a slow nod of respect from their driveway. The neighborhood had changed. No more towing threats, no more surprise fines, no more Karen stalking around like she was auditioning for the role of God in cul-de-sac theater. We elected a new board, level-headed people, transparent, fair. HOA meetings became civil again. People laughed, discussed real concerns, even disagreed without turning into a battlefield. Imagine that. And me? I got back to what I came here for: peace. But peace earned feels different than peace handed to you. It has weight, depth, and the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels deserved. I did see Karen one last time. It was after her sentencing. She avoided jail time, first-time offender, community service, full restitution. But the humiliation, that stuck. She was standing in her now cracked driveway holding a "for sale" sign. I walked by slow, no smirk, no words, just enough time for her to feel the chill in the air and know exactly where it came from. Because in the end, this wasn't just about a towed truck. It was about someone who thought they were bigger than the rules they created. And sometimes, the only way to teach a lesson is to become the test they never studied for.